Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome again to another segment of Straight Talk with Thornton. This program is designed to educate, inspire, and to inform on how government affect our lives every day. And we know it's really affecting us now. Never has the country been in such a turmoil as it is today. Terrible peril we're in today. And we also like to say, when we try to inform you of the accomplishments of the black community and what we did to put this country in the light that it is in the world today. The show is produced by our black people, our fine gentleman, Mr. Hall, Julius Hall, wonderful man in this community. He informed you of all the accomplishments and things that we have done as a black people and things we need to do to make our lives a better person and an individual. We also have a wonderful show. I'm going to tell you about the radio show, 2100, with some beautiful music. I like to say this. I like to always mention this when I have my show about the coming out the Word of God. I love the Word Scriptures when He says these in His words. Proverbs the 31st chapter 8 verse. Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are destituted. And I think today we have more people destituted in the history of the world. I have an excellent guest tonight that will be on in a few minutes with me, but I want to say he and I were in my office the other day. We were talking about the issues that I have on my wall of civil rights icons and events. And he and I were talking, and we got to talking about the presidents. So I'm talking that Salvador Trump, the evil man. God's going to bring him down, not my word. You see, Mr. Thornton told me so. God's one time, He's going to bring him down. His family becoming filthy rich. He's already his net worth of over $2 billion since he's been in office. He's cut every program you can think to cut. And he and I were talking about the presidents. And since 1948, when Lula died, I said to Mr. Johnson, let me see how many presidents we've had since that time. And there were 14 presidents. And starting with President Roosevelt, all down to President Obama, and this third way of the president now. 34 felons. Obama had only one felon that did been in the rock road. Being charged with raping a woman, paying a woman to go to Spain and over $80,000. And yet I can never understand how these people flock to his rallies. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Now I want to talk, I got quite a few little issues tonight on observations. And like I said to Johnson, I'm proving you on them also. And that is, I want to talk about number one would be voting. Now listen to me now, ladies and gentlemen. Listen to me. Please listen to me. This is the most critical time in the history of black folk with this president. He's trying to remove Mrs. Stewart from the Federal Reserve Board, the white woman. He has fired over 300,000 white women throughout the government. He has removed the lady who was in charge of the museum that holds outstanding things to the American government. He fired the general who was chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the same big Colin Powell had. This man is black people. Look what he's already done. He has already sent to effect, the judge has to carry it out. He has already allowed over 250,000 Haitians. I know that's all people from Syria too, but I'm talking about the white folk now from Haiti. They had temporary protection as they worked in this country. He ran them out of the country, poor people, taking care of their families with children, working in the agricultural area in this country. And you know, no white man and no black man can be out there picking up beans and open stuff, you know that. He is a dirty man. The man is evil. He is the epitome of evil. Never saw such a evil man in all the days of my life. We had a terrible situation during the sit-ins and during the struggle for freedom and justice in America. Mr. Johnson, what's your take on what they're doing with the Haitian people? What do you think about that?
First, Mr. Thornton, I want to thank you for inviting me and giving me the opportunity to be on your show. I think with the Haitians immigrants, the laws are being changed to target certain groups. Now, there are many groups of different types of immigrants that's into the country, but it just seems like they're targeting certain minorities to put them out of the country.
Exactly. Now also I'd like to say, since we talked about voting, I was seeing yesterday, a day before, and this is done out of because we know that. As we know, this country, as I told you last month, this country, 250 years, I didn't pay that much attention to as far as I'm concerned, because it meant nothing to black folk. We were slaves. Thomas Jefferson, as I stated last month, Thomas Jefferson had 200 slaves. We had a vested right by the Declaration of Independence, so that people endowed on the creator of certain inalienable rights and liberty and pursuit of happiness. And we didn't find the black people because they overlooked the fact that about 2,000 black people fought the British to make this country what it is. Yeah. And that was that time for him to do away with slavery. So I had no respect for him, and I had no respect for him 250 years. I had no respect for them doing out of folks. Independent thing, that is nothing to me but just sit out and barbecue. It has no meaning to me because it's nothing. It's hypocritical, and it's nothing. Black folk are suffering in this country like we have for absolutely nothing. Now I got this in the mail. Now listen to me, guys, in 1776. Now Mr. Johnson, you and I were talking about this other day. Now you know Ms. Keisha Bottom was running for governor. Now just think about this, ladies and gentlemen. 1776 to this month, July of this year, that's 250 years. So that's 250 years they've always had what? Black, white governors.
Exactly.
Now this young lady here, it was a mayor of Atlanta, did a magnificent job as a governor. She's trying to be. She did a magnificent job as mayor of Atlanta, Ms. Dollars. Now I got this in the mail. This is one of the local Republicans. Putting that stuff out. She sent her 100 taxpayers money to go up the Super Bowl. She got this limousine car. Yes, she fits this car around all over the city to see things and anything to try to bruise and bring down this lady. We got to get out of the boat. That's what this scared of. Now the woman here is the outstanding lady. The person she's running against is a Trump man. And I saw him on the TV myself. When they say, I am for Donald Trump is my great leader, all of that. That's the type man. And he was a gangster. He was a billionaire running against this lady. Now, according to the last report that I got, she was leading in the polls. She was leading in the polls. And I knew we get out and vote in this country. Stop sitting on our rear end and get out and vote. No sign that food that your vote doesn't count. It does count. Yes, it does count. And we got to help win this election.
Exactly. And what we have to look at is both Burt Jones and Rick Jackson were election deniers.
Yes.
That 2020 election, both of them say the election was stolen. Now, if you look at who they're basically targeting, they go straight to Thornton County, which is the majority African American county, and say that that's where the election was stolen. But you've got Coffee County on tape, taking voting machines, stealing data, and they don't say anything about that, but they want to target Thornton County. So when they're targeting Ms. Bottoms, basically they're targeting minorities, because that seems like the only people that they care about as far as saying they've done something wrong. When you look at things like what others like Coffee County has done and some other places, they overlook it. So whoever is in office makes those decisions. So that's why it's very important to get out and vote, because those people that makes the decisions are the ones that's going to say, we're going to prosecute this and we're going to overlook that. And that's why we have a president right now that's a 34 count convicted, 34 count felon. But what happened? They overlooked it. And the reason they overlooked it is because the people that's making the decisions, the people that we vote for, they're the ones that decide what they're going to prosecute.
Exactly. And let me just make a statement in reference to what you're saying. Look what it has happened over there, Mr. Blanche. His personal lawyer now will be the Attorney General. He's the one that's covering up this Epstein thing about Mr. Trump. They'll never bring that up to the surface, but people get the truth about it. But Trump directly into that matter. And we talk about voting, after the Civil War, the 3 constitutional amendments came to protect the former slaves. The 13th Amendment, which killed slavery, not exist over in this country. The 14th Amendment made us the citizens. All persons born into the country. He tried to deal with birthright last month, and Supreme Court struck it down. Then he had the last one, the 15th Amendment, 1868, was the amendment that gave us the right to vote.
Yes.
But it says that the Congress had the authority to make sure that this legislation was throughout the whole country. But what did the South do? They did not allow white folk to vote.
Exactly.
I was showing you yesterday, Dr. Gilbert had the 2 ministers in Columbus, Georgia, to file a suit to vote in the Democrat primary.
Exactly.
The Reverend, there were 2 ministers. They followed Dr. Gilbert, who was the pastor for that Baptist church. He set up 44 NAACP chapters throughout the state of Georgia. And one of them was Dr. Brewer was one of them, and I can't remember the last of the nominee. But they filed a suit in the federal court, and Thurgood Marshall argued that case for the right to vote in the Democrat primary. We could only vote for president. The white man has been an evil. Ain't no question about it. You had decent white people that don't get me wrong now, because they know the city was outside about black people, outside about white people. Decent white people. Now you take take the voting, and we're talking about voting, how important voting is. Now you take these 3 young men right here. You see them? You see these 3 young men right now. White man in the middle, a Jewish man, and a white gentleman. These 3 civil rights men were murdered in the 60s in Mississippi. Students went from all over the country to do away with racial voting in Mississippi. And they captured these 3 men one day and they found some Trump charge and they put them in jail. And the Ku Klux Klan, the sheriff of the made Ku Klux Klan name. And what they did is they around jail when it's on nighttime. They didn't know the roads. They didn't know which highway to get on exactly. So what happened? They followed these men. And when they turned off in a desert place, they murdered them. And they threw them in some kind of dam and covered them up and all of that. And President Johnson had the FBI to do research and try to find these men. And they found them, shot them dead for no reason. Otherwise, what they were doing, getting black folks registered to vote. People are giving lives to vote. You sit down and don't want to vote.
And unfortunately, the majority of Southern whites basically backed the Confederacy. And they resent any type of advancement of African Americans or enslaved blacks. They reject it. You go back to 1845 when we had the Baptist Convention, and the Baptists basically told the Southerners that slavery was wrong. And you know what the Southerners did? They decided to break away and become Southern Baptists. And that's the origin of Southern Baptists in 1845, right around 1845. And then when it came a little bit further, 1865 or 1861, the Southerners decided they was going to break away from the Union in order to keep slavery going. So they put down their religion to keep slavery going, and now they're putting down their country to keep slavery going. And even though over 600,000 people died in the Civil War, they'd rather do that than to let enslaved black people go. So when you go a little bit further, you look at these monuments, like you go down to Forsyth Park, you see a monument of a Confederate soldier. But what about the Union soldiers?
You know what, Mr. Johnson? I spoke to one or two legislators. You see, if I were in the legislature, I would not be scared to speak out. I've never been, never will be. And when I sat on that bus, that man told me to go back, I told him I was not moving. But here's what I'm saying. I spoke to one or two legislators, I don't call the names. I said, why you all don't mention about taking this statue out the park? You know what they mean? Well, you know, you got to have this, do that. And I said, look, when I was there last week, at this particular time, in Virginia, they had a huge statue of Robert E. Lee. They had to take 2 or 3 cranes to take it down because the men people in this town spoke out. I don't know why our legislators stayed over their mouths.
And that's another reason to vote. Why? Because it's basically a state law that keeps these Confederate monuments up. Now, in Georgia, we have the largest Confederate monument in the world, which is Stone Mountain.
That's right.
And you think they'll take that down? No. Because the people that's in office are the ones that's making the decisions. These same people that enslaved black people are being worshipped as in a positive light. But they say that that's the history, that's the Southern history. Well, there was black people down in the South too. So why you don't have monuments of people like Abraham Lincoln, Harriet Tubman, Frederick Douglass, William Sherman? Those are the people that fought for the Union and actually fought for the United States, not the Confederacy.
Now there's a way to put Harriet Tubman on a $20 bill and put Jackson on the opposite side. That had not happened.
Why? They postponed it.
They postponed it. Why?
Because the people that make the decisions are the same people you vote for. They decide whether they're going to put Harriet Tubman on a $20 bill. They're the ones to decide. So if you sit back and don't vote, then you don't have anything to say because these people are going to make the decisions for you, and the decisions that they make are not going to be in your favor.
Exactly. The right to vote is guaranteed by the Constitution, and I can never understand. And I think that is right. I was among the stuff in 1948. From 48 until right today, the last 2 states could be Alaska and Hawaii. 48 states. So 13 states. 48 states allow 13 states to tell them what to do. Isn't that awful?
Yes.
35 states. You only have 13 southern states. And the cow tied down to them. I'm still alive. But I remember, God bless him in his grave many years now. He tried to run for president. What's the gentleman name from Missouri? But I can call it in. He spoke at the Democratic Convention. And talks about civil rights. Talk about put that on their national plan. For civil rights for the African Americans in this country. Almost called the name.
Yeah.
He ran for president, didn't win, but he was the first one in that convention. And that started the movement for black folk in the convention. And that's Lady Hannah from Mississippi. It was Hannah. So she was tired of being tired of singing.
Unfortunately, the majority of Southern whites resent any type of black advancement. And if you look, most of the southern states say they don't want the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare. The northern states accept it. Now, why is that? The southern states are saying that it's an entitlement program, and basically means they don't want minorities to get health care. So they rather go without than to actually get health care for themselves in order to try to keep minorities down.
You know, Ms. Johnson, I guess you covered the show, it's up to her. And that's the young lady running for the first congressional district. It's Amanda Hunger, or some, I don't know her last name, but her first name was Amanda. And she's running for the first congressional district.
Yeah.
That was Jack Kingston district. And he was out in the Congress, and he was a very good friend of mine. He and I became very good friends because at that time, before he was gerrymandering, he would always attend African American affairs. Jack Kingston, this is a white man. Jack Kingston came to even my fraternity dance. We started to have a ball. He and his other there one time. We all dressed in this truck and everything, and the guy dressed so beautiful. But now, he retired with that. He ran for the Senate, and he lost. But he became a lobbyist, so we don't play plenty money doing that. Now his son is running in the city. And I don't know everybody never met him. I believe that doing anything A from B, but he running his daddy's name. So this lady will run against him. And I'm trying to make a point of what you just said. They'll rather suffer. Now they'll suffer with high cost of gas, they'll suffer with high cost of groceries, and high cost of insurance and all that. But they'll rather suffer like that than to go with this black woman that's going to run for it. That is running.
Exactly.
So we're going to see just what they're thinking is. Just, sort of say what you're just saying.
Exactly. They rather, if you look at it, the majority of Southern whites voted for segregation. They backed candidates that wanted to keep the nation segregated. So it looks like the majority of Southern whites, which are now are like neo-Confederates, they rather vote anything that's going to keep a minority down. That's what they're going to vote for, regardless of if they're going to start a war or basically take money or use the government to enrich themselves. They don't care about anything like that. The only thing they care about is to make sure that minorities are held down. Now, this is not all Southern whites, but the majority, and hopefully the younger people will turn around. But if you look at history, the majority of Southern whites vote basically to keep minorities down.
And they rather suffer themselves.
Yes.
To do that. Let's take the election last week in Michigan, where this another man, Abdul.
Yes.
He's a progressive, he's very a social progressive that we come.
Yes.
Now, this white woman was running, and he won the election. Trump called him today, called him a communist, a racist. How do he call anybody a racist? How can Trump call anybody a racist? A communist? This is the white people got to win everything. But the same thing with all these laws of Kansas State. And as soon as that young man became a Muslim, first of them do this. Every young man 18 years old is supposed to sign up for the draft. That's the law. When you're 18 years old. He was fine boxing and everything until he became a Muslim. And when he became a Muslim, they re-classified him to go to the military. And it's like Vietnam then. And he said, I'm not going to fight in Vietnam, nobody no N-word. Y'all do. I write nothing I don't get some people. And what did they do? They stripped him off the regular championship. He lost plenty money because of good boxer and so he's rich for they probably said the heck with all that foolishness there. I really makes a lot of people rich on him betting and all of that. So they finally allowed him to fight for the championship again, and he became great heavyweight champion. And then, of course, they felt terrible when they treated him, and he came out of parts of disease, bad, shaking like that. And they had a light thing for the limits, you remember?
Yes.
But they try to, when they try to do not feel sorry for the way they treated him. You know what I mean? And I can't understand Mr. Johnson. I don't try to tell nobody to believe in God, that's up to you. And you Jesus don't make nobody come. He's will. So my point is this. If you don't accept Christ, that's you. But one thing I can tell you is this. When you sit upstairs and you walk out and too late to run in. As man was treated every day about knowing what God destroyed the world. And they're laughing at him, God told him how to build his ark. Give him the dimensions on his ark. How many years it took him to build it? And they're laughing at that man. Laughing at going crazy, that crazy man doing this, doing that. But he got all that finished. And God began to let the water pour from the skies 40 days and 40 nights. Right till everybody shut that down. God tell you, okay, you take your children, your wife, their wives, and all them children. And God shut the door. Couldn't open it. And they come, let me in. I'm going I can do your laughing. So they people go to church, talk about Christ, singing all the beautiful song, right? Father, give us all our fruitless ways and all of that. And say they love Jesus. And Jesus said, as you men do unto you, do ye also unto them. But they want to be treated the way they treated by people. No, of course, that's how we used to go. Let me tell you the truth about it. Many times, my mother's sister lived at Brunswick, and my brother used to drive all of us to see my aunt used to live in Brunswick. And you had to urinate. You couldn't run up a filling station other than by gas. You couldn't go to no restaurants or nowhere. You had to stand outside the highway when the cars passed by to relieve yourself. Terrible. All because of the color of the skin. But they don't look at the good accomplishment black folk have done in this country.
No, they don't.
They don't look at the number one, Mr. Johnson. Like I told him on that show. The blood bank. Dr. Drew. They've been in the way to preserve the blood.
Maybe
you don't get nobody's blood. They get the plasma out of the blood. But if you have an operation with water coming through your veins with blood being coming out, you got to be replaced with what? Blood.
Exactly.
White folks don't know that. And I think that one of the reasons children are so ignorant. A lot of young white folks today are taking different positions. In fact, they don't have nothing but us in the history books.
I know, that's a shame. If you just sort of look back at a lot of the things that they've done, as far as the white community towards the black community, one of the things that you told me is that they prefer to let somebody from thousands of miles away to come into the country, go to their schools, eat in their restaurants, get their loans, but not let a black person that's been in this country, built this hard, and died and built this country. They don't want any of the black people to enjoy any of the fruits of their labor.
Exactly. Now let's change the subject about this war. The trouble is, I was so glad yesterday, you know that he knocked out part of the east wing of the White House with this ballroom mess. He trying to have everything over his name on him. So they did with the building that was dedicated to the Kingdom Center. He put his name over Senate and the Kingdom's name. And this black woman was on this board to which the federal court, and they had to take it off. Now the judge stopped him yesterday for about this ballroom. Now he lied when he first came on the scene with it. He said that the donation will come from private citizens. That's American people have to find things like that better.
And if you look at it, it appears that Trump can do whatever he wants to do, and he knows that he's going to have the backing of basically the Southerns, the Confederates. As long as he's doing something to keep minorities down, they don't care what. I don't care if he tears up the building or if he starts a war. They're going to support him. Regardless.
We're going to take a little break here for a moment, and we'll be right back. I hope you're enjoying the show.
Savannah, are you looking for some of the best Southern soul food? Then check out Kim's Cafe at 714 MLK Boulevard. The food is so good, you'll think that your mother cooked it. Located in the heart of Savannah, Kim's has a menu that includes breakfast anytime, lunch when you need it, and dinner so you won't have to cook when you get home. They also cater all types of events and can host your reserved event at the restaurant. Come see what everyone has been raving about. Great food, great atmosphere, and a great time. Kim's Cafe, 714 MLK Boulevard in beautiful downtown Savannah.
Police in my whip must be thought I had bricks. Say I wouldn't make it, but it's happening quick. Hating on me now.
Hello, world. We're here, serving Savannah, Atlanta, Jacksonville, Brooklyn, Houston, Philadelphia, Los Angeles, and the world. The best music all the time. The greatest songs ever made, every time. Tune in to Hot 2100 Savannah and get a taste for your ears. Hot 2100 Savannah, serving Savannah and the world.
When it comes to the city, I'm the key. Gotta go to court in the morning for a plea. What you gotta pay to get, I hit that for free. And when I'm in the streets, yeah, I gotta tote that heat. It's hard for you to touch it, cause I stay up out of reach. Talking about ends dirty, I'ma make them meet. I've been down too long, I'd be damned if I don't eat. If you want someone to try, I'd be damned if it's me. I see why you mad, you ain't swagging like this.
Taboo? All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're coming back on right now. All right, a little break. I want to change the subject here a second. Let me make sure my notes are on to mention one more thing. I should say that Trump fired over 2,000 black women throughout the nation and get federal jobs. Black women, over 2,000 are retired. Economy is sinking. 22,000 jobs were lost last month. Not increase, decrease. Because all this tariffs and all this kind of business, he has led the country. This man has led the country. And he keeps lying, saying that this is the best economy since such a time. This is the worst economy. People lose their job. We have a 33% rating of this economy. It's low approval rating. 70% of the people, 70% of the people say they're doing a terrible job. Now I want to change the subject a little bit. Every time I do a show, I have not been able to talk about another area which we excel in very much so, and that is in the sport arena. The young man on our show tonight made history. I did not know. As long as I live by myself, I know that. There's no way in the world I can know everything. I know enough of things that can't know everything. And Mr. James Johnson here, he was the first African American from Savannah, Georgia, to go to the University of Georgia and then the University of Georgia basketball team. Tell me about it, Mr. Johnson. Tell me about your experience and when you, after you left the University of Georgia, I think you were over here with basketball.
Yes.
So tell me about that while we got a few minutes, and then we're going to talk about some other great African Americans in the sports area.
Well, yes, I was the first African American from the state of Georgia to play basketball for the University of Georgia. Now, there were two other black gentlemen that came from D.C. that played for Georgia. But as far as the state of Georgia and playing men's basketball for the University of Georgia, I was the first one. And it was a pretty interesting experience. We went to a lot of the SEC schools, and they didn't have very many black people at all. I can remember playing against the University of Kentucky and being the only African American on the court at times. So it was, and then being approximately 18 years old, it was a little bit of a challenging experience. But all in all, it was a good experience at the University of Georgia. I later transferred to Western Kentucky and played basketball there. We made the NCAA twice, and I ended up getting the MVP twice.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, both of those experiences was very good, and then I also went overseas and played in France for a couple of years. So
wonderful.
It was enjoyable, and I was inducted into the Savannah Hall of Fame in 2018.
Oh, wonderful, Mr. Johnson. And you lived next to me about 20 years ago. I never knew that. I never knew that. And I was proud to hear about you too, man. As you made history, and such a good example for all our young men. We got to do about training with our young men, and especially around here with all this shooting and killing. You got my house beating right now by my grandson that they murdered on Christmas, the month of December, so last year. So I'm surprised you really job for a lot of young men.
Yes, and we as black people have to learn a way to settle our differences without violence. If you're having a disagreement with somebody, go to somebody that may be friends with both of you all and try to settle the difference, because it's not worth it. It's just not worth it, because once you get in the system, they're going to take advantage of you, and they're going to pretty much bleed your parents dry. It's not going to be good. So find another way to settle differences. Exactly. And it's not wrong to say, I apologize, I was wrong, I apologize to you for that. There's nothing wrong with that.
All right, now, so we're in the sport arena right now. We got away from the politics of the nation. And I wish we could take a moment to talk about outstanding black folk like Mr. Johnson in the area of basketball. Now this magazine right here, this is how large, hold that up. This is how large the Evident magazine used to be. I had this magazine since 1978. A lot of things that I keep. Now on this magazine you see Muhammad Ali, Jack Johnson, the black man, Johnson. Jack Johnson, you see how big he is. He was president, he was heavyweight champion of the world. And then there's Joe Louis. Now let me just say first about Jack Johnson. Jack Johnson became the heavyweight champion of the world, and white women love him. They love that black Negro man. They love him. And the white folk couldn't stand it. Mm-hmm. They could not stand loving that man like they did. So what did they do? In the Congress, they came up with some kind of law that he took these women across state lines and they put him in jail. They elected him. Mm-hmm. They elected him. They elected him because of his relationship with all these white women. And nobody, and he's all the heritage officer. He came around here as Joe Louis. Now let me tell you about Joe Louis, ladies and gentlemen. You all look at the door, look at that television, and put our boxing on the screen anymore. Boxing used to be a number one thing in the nation. When you think about great champions like Joe Louis, Ray Robinson, you think about Joe Louis, what kind of inspiration he was to black people. I had some videos, come on, how many you're going to be going to. And I had Joe Louis fighting with a young man. Mm-hmm. I got about 7 or 8 videos with 4 or 5 titles on each one that he boxing. And Joe Louis was an inspiration to black people. Everybody had a video, but don't let you watch the better radio, brother. Until the women took the wire, put a piece of metal rod in the grind and wrap the wire around the grind and used to have Joe Lewis. And I mean, they didn't know how to roll out with them. Down they went. So all I had to laugh, I was reading a book about Jimmy Carter, Curly Carter, and Carter was all about how, you know, he's a peanut farmer, dad was they got all the money of peanuts. And so the worker asked Mr. Carter's daddy, so Mr. Carter, can we stand outside by the window at night and listen to Joe Lewis fight? He was sure, yeah, boy, so Joe, he called boy, you know that. Sure, boy, yeah. So what he did, and I said this about Jimmy Carter family. His mother was a racist woman, not. She was a woman that treated people as human beings. She was a Methodist, had the bishop all to her house. Jimmy Carter's mother. And Jimmy Carter, when he became governor, I can remember, he made that inaugural speech. He said, the day of racism and segregation in this country, in this state is gone. Take that from Jimmy Carter. That's why I told you I put it on my wall. Now, and he appointed Andrew Young, the first ambassador to the United Nations. Back to Joe Lewis.
Yeah, I just want to say one other thing about black athletes. Black athletes has always been at the forefront of the civil rights movement.
Yes, sir.
When you had Muhammad Ali, he called a commission together. Jim Brown, Lou Alcindor, and many other prominent black athletes to fight for the advancement of black people. And if you recall, just recently, haven't been too recently, but LeBron James, you know, when they shut down the NBA because of police brutality, and that was those black athletes being at the forefront to fight for advancement of black people and minorities. So athletes have always been at the forefront of the movement. One of the groups that's been at the forefront.
Now, back to Joe's good. I'm glad you know that. I've been talking about few people tonight, and the next round I'm talking about this. But Joe Lewis, as I've heard to say, they asked Mr. Carter, could they come to his house and put the radio in the window and they didn't let him fight? And we got our job in Joe to beat the white man. I'm telling you the truth now, that we got out the frustration. So we were looking into the fight, and the fight didn't last 2 rounds. Joe got to put that white man down bad. And so they're very nice. They're very nice to Mr. Carter. So Mr. Carter, thank you very much, sir, for letting us look at the fight. You boys are welcome. And they left and went down to a bar and whoop and yell. And the book I read about Jimmy Carter, that's what he's saying. But they went down to the bar and whoop and yell, man, Joe, with that white man. They didn't want to whoop and yell around Mr. Carter, see? The daddy.
Yeah, my daddy told me a similar story about how they used to have to be outside the window of, I guess, a white gentleman to listen at the radio because none of them had radios. But they sit outside the window and listen at the fight. And when the results of the fight, after Joe Lewis won, they had to hurry up and leave their house from around that house.
But that's what they did. They went barn and they hooked it off us. They were so glad. Now, number one only because I did 2 running on them. There's no one to keep the single. The Williams sisters, tennis. Yeah, that was a game right for them how to get into it. But their daddy taught them when they were little. And they put hours to go teaching them how to play basketball. And they won about, Serena and other one won about 5 championships at the Wimbledon, which is over in England. That was one of the favorite sports areas there in that country. And Serena and other Venus. But that was Venus. Venus and Serena, right. Now that's Serena they were talking about coming back again. You read that?
Yes, now, she is.
I don't know why we do that. And that's what they all understand. But we do have been successful, outstanding, and that will happen to Joe Lewis. Joe Lewis had a sick call over this because Joe Lewis owed the government so much money. She had to come back and try to fight and fix on them taxes. And then Marciano beat the food out of him in the old man. Good. Now Serena, there's one of them on this one, that one girl trying to come back. Serena Bender.
I believe it's.
I think Serena trying to come back again. She's doing some advertising now and losing the weight. And she used to on television. And she is practicing and want to come back and say she's back again. Now she's all out that day. I don't know what to do now. She come back, somebody go beat her 9 times out of 10. What happens?
Yes.
They have Jews got in that ring and man beat the food out. He wouldn't last 5 minutes with Julius. The fighting mothers, she already got a lot of taxes. Don't you have to go to treat them on. He fought 2 fights and give all the purse to the army, and they fought another fight, give all the purse to the Navy. And then I always get on that man like nothing like that. And finally, and he was able to pay a lot of right time off. And what I said to myself, why didn't all you black intern people like Cap Calloway and the Saturday Davis Jr. and all these people doing that area, why didn't they get together and put up some something to help Jerusalem get out of that predicament with the government on taxes? Something to black people, that's what they did. And Jerusalem was a man that inspired black people. We had in the South, being treated where you're treated. And that's what they did, Joe. They could have done that to help Jerusalem. And Jerusalem had he ready to take advantage of him. They took advantage of him, suing him and taking his money. Yeah. And he wound up with nothing. But the white man was very nice at that. With a big festival in Las Vegas. They allowed him to be a guest. And then he turned around as people came in. They honored him, give him money, and even the fight that he fought, Jack Maximilian, which was the Germans, and they gave him St. Joe's money to the same predicament. He really knocked Joey well. And the really had to talk because you got to win this fight. Because Hitler was saying that the German people were the master race. And Joey put a beating on him in the first round. And he said Joey some money in the predicament. All right, his own people didn't do it. That's one thing I see, Joey's, he was a very educated man. And Muhammad Ali was educated. He invested all his money. You see?
There was any other prominent black tennis athletes now, such as Coco Gauff. She's doing real well. Yeah. But I want to just mention one thing about athletics. Now, when I played back in the 70s, you couldn't make any money off of playing basketball or football because of the NCAA rules. Somebody may slip you a few dollars under the table, but basically athletes couldn't make any money. And then all that money that was being made when you see these stadiums filled were being made for some rich people. But now, since the courts has ruled that the athletes can make money off the NIL, name, image, and likeness, you've got a lot of athletes that's making millions of dollars.
Oh yeah.
Some may make as much as $5 or $6 million. Oh yeah. Just off of their name, image, and likeness, and it's something that I think is good for a lot of maybe athletes that's coming into the NCAA and trying to actually go forward. It's good for them to be able to make money and not go home broke. A lot of them, and some make more playing college sports than they do playing professional sports. And I think this is something that's really positive for minorities, and especially a lot of underprivileged kids that end up being stars, and now they can make money.
That's right. And not only that, now another thing I'll tell you, there's a lot of other athletes that we talked about tonight. We talked about Joe Lewis and the other boxer, and we talked about him, and he's saying that true, that now they can make money and sell the product. That's the product they sell it.
Right.
And then there's this. Did you all know, and other people do not know, if you watch horse racing at the Kentucky Derby, Kentucky never made it. They have 3 races now. They call it Triple Crown. You have the Kentucky Derby, you have the Preakness, and the Belmont. But during this time in the 1890s, beginning of the 1900s, we did not have the 2, just only one, the Kentucky Derby. And you had, y'all already seen, that still some of the races, jockeys that ran horses. You see them? The jockeys. You had, okay, thank you. These jockeys were great riders for the Kentucky Derby. You had one rider won the Kentucky Derby 3 times. You didn't have the Preakness and the Belmont. It was just the Kentucky Derby. Everybody brings all that money, they pay money, they gamble, all that. Nothing but money making. But somehow, beginning of the 1900s, they got away from the black jockeys. Racism. I don't know why they did. I'm not reading here, and I don't understand why they terminate their performances. But they were allowed to do it before they became dirty like they did. You know, in 1955, listen to this, there was one jockey named was Isaac Murphy. He was a great rider. In 1955, Isaac Murphy was the first jockey, black or white, to be inducted into the Racing Hall of Fame. A black jockey. See, you never knew that.
No, I didn't know that either.
I knew never knew that. Black jockey. And everybody watches the Kentucky Derby every May. Every May.
And that's why it's important to learn history, because they don't want you to know anything positive. Now, the building that was the White House before the White House, the first dwelling of the president, they had black slaves, black enslaved people. And what happened is President Trump went in, they turned it into a museum. He went in and removed the pictures of the enslaved people and the images, because he did not want to know, did not want everyone to know that it was black people that helped build this country in so many different ways.
Now, I didn't even put about the King. I had 5 more minutes to go into this show, and I would tell you next month about some other athletes. So we talked about Joe Rhodes, we talked about Jack Johnson, talked about Serena Cooper, talked about the doctors. But there's going to be some other good places that I want you to know about. And sometimes I do repeat all these things because they're going to sit into your mind and to tell your children. We just are a bunch of people that have been here. Mm-hmm. We made contributions to this nation.
Exactly. It was not.
And I'm going to show you this here, about my last one, the night here. And I want you to hold a picture of this down so let the people see. Now that is a picture of a bunch of people demonstrating in Alabama. And you see that right, look at it, that's a water hose. You beat them down with the fire department water hose. Knock them down like you would knock down a baby.
It's my understanding that President Trump's family came over in the early 19th century, whereas black people has been here since the 16th, 17th century.
16th, 19th.
Yeah, so to say that, come over and say, get out of, you got to get out of the country. Black people have been here and they built this country.
Sure did.
And they built a lot of the industries, such as the insurance industry, the railroad industry, the textile industry, the financial industry, the banking industry, which is also the financial industry. Just many industries were being built on the backs of black people. In fact, even in the South, they had money with black people on the money. because that's what they agreed with. That's what they wanted, because that was the backbone of their economy.
And you know, when you think about it, the only black person that the South really recognized was George Washington Carver, because what he did without being a great scientist, he taught them how to grow their vegetables. He taught them how to overhaul the farming business. That's why they honored George Washington Carver. That's why they honored him. But there have been so many contributions made by black people. And that's why I like to talk about it, so that y'all can tell you all the children about them. Because a lot of our children don't know. They don't know. It's like, you know, you already know that we don't know about no jockeys.
Sure did.
Black jockeys. But they're not going to know. Mention on television, oh, you had a bunch of black jockeys. But they never listened and caused them to get out of business.
Exactly. And that's why we need to have monuments that actually portray the blacks that have contributed greatly to this country.
And lastly, before I close out my show, I got to show you this. I'll be showing from time to time. When you go down and so you sit down and walk in the place, they wait on you eating. You can always do that. Now, these three black men right here, they were on the side of the city in North Carolina, the three college students, went down to the river so in North Carolina. And they sat down at the lunch counters, and they were serving. And as a result of that, she a white woman, she got there to sit down, and she didn't do it. And the black men were not leaving. They sat there all day. And that city, they saw the citizens. And I was all in the city and Savannah, the boycott and everything. And as a result of this, so there was a lunch counters open to Negroes. That's in Savannah, Georgia. This was in the morning news here in Savannah. So I don't want y'all to think, especially young people, y'all walk in a place and eating all that. You don't know the hell black people went through. You know why you need to appreciate a person like myself and many others over this nation.
Don't forget to vote, register and vote.
And that's one of the things that made the difference with the white leadership. It's the same power. It's a vote. When Dr. Gill came in, he arrested 19,000 black people on time. You hear me say?
And that makes a huge difference. Who makes the decisions is who you vote for and put in office. That's who makes the decision.
Exactly. And they love the fact that you do have to vote. That is power. And that's what we need to vote. And like I said, we have this congressional election coming up. And we've got in November. Really got to get out and vote. We got to put the public out of business.
Exactly. And don't believe the false advertisement, negative.
Yeah, like I just showed you about Miss Bottoms. Talk about the car and all that mess. All the dirty done. And who was the man saying that? He was a Trump man. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'll cover the end of my show tonight. And Mrs. Johnson, thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
I enjoyed it. And your input. And so we want you to have a nice night. We thank you. And remember that in our great society, we all got to work together.
Exactly.
And we all got to push each other, not bring each other down, but push each other up. Because remember that what we set the stage for the next generation of black children who are not even coming to the world yet, is now God that this world exists. So have a good night, and thank you for listening to the show. And by the way, if anybody has any comment, you can always call me on my phone. 925-1034, and I'll answer any of your questions. But let it be questions for success, not for foolishness. I don't have time for foolishness. So have a good night, and thank you very much.
Okay. All right, well,